DreamHack Open is brought to you by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, GG Bet, and LG Ultra Gear.
The Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport has held the title of the world's busiest airport for 18 years now. Lots of airports claim to be the world's busiest. However, its 101 million passengers trumps any passenger movement in other airports around the world. It's just a 3-hour flight as well from most of the major cities in America. And its terminal is just as big as 45 football fields. And I'm going to assume that's American football because the one true football that's 100 yards across from start to finish. Of course, welcome to the DreamHack Open Atlanta. I'm going to have to give you a warm introduction as well as an introduction to our sponsors that make this all possible in Astro, Corsair, Monster Energy, Hacks, and New Belgium Brewing, who are certainly keeping it bubbly here inside of the World New Congress Center. Now that I've gotten all out of the way, let's go ahead and introduce my counterparts here. Guys, I do have a full analytical desk here in the likes of Dust, Moret, and Bach. My audio cut out there for a second. So.
It's okay.
Oh, you actually forgot our names for a second. I was
like, I thought so too. I was a little concerned.
I stepped on the cord and it just stopped.
Oh, okay.
What am I going to do here? Anyway, guys, welcome to Atlanta. I'm sure you guys have been here before.
I actually haven't. This is my first time being in Atlanta. So.
This is what I get for assuming.
Yes.
I've been here a couple times, so halfway right.
Halfway right. Well, guys, talk to me a little bit about what you've done so far here in Atlanta. Let's hear the nitty-gritty. Let's hear the stories that maybe you might not be willing to share on stream.
That's probably not a good idea, Trace. That's probably why you don't share them on stream.
That's what you think. What do you got?
I mean, we had food.
We did have food last night.
That's the PG version. We had food.
Anything you could tell the viewer at home?
There was a very lucky thing that we touched on the way out.
Yeah, we went to the Vortex Bar, so if you're local to Atlanta, you know there's a giant something when you walk through the front door that you can touch for good luck. Yes.
It's large.
So,
well, I, for one, went to this place called the Hudson Grill and watched a little bit of that great American football. And I just felt like American again. I haven't been in America in a long time, and it just feels good, guys. So thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. That does it for the show. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. We got all the nitty-gritty out. Yeah. No, we do have...
That's all we had to say.
Oh, a ton of Counter-Strike is what we do need to be saying. In fact, we do have 8 teams here vying for that spot on the board, but we need to take a look at the groups first, and perhaps we do it this way. Dust, walk me through Group A.
Yeah, I mean, with Group A, you have basically a lot of struggling North American teams right now, like Luminosity's facing relegation. They've already been demoted to Mountain Dew League. Envy's on the verge of being relegated in the Pro Leagues as well. compLexity, you know, had a great major, but then really struggled afterwards. They had a decent CS Summit event coming into here, so maybe they're picking back up. Then you have E-United, who are all over the place with their roster right now. I think they have signed Cooper, but I don't think he's playing at this event. They only just recently got Finesse to be the in-game leader, so a lot of instability over on that side. So there's a lot of storylines packed in the Group A.
And Group B, what do you got for us, Bach?
Well, it's kind of bizarre, right? Because we had Fragsters coming into this as like maybe a potential favorite coming out of Group B, but now they have a sub-5th, who I don't even think we know yet.
It's
maybe
HS.
It's
HS.
Okay, so we kind of got a last-minute sub coming in from them. Ghost now looks like the hands-down favorite of the group. Vitality, no one really knows what to expect. So I think that Group B is kind of more of a coin toss as to who the second team is going to be.
Yeah.
But I think the first team, it's obvious it's going to be Ghost to most of us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's pretty spot on. Good job, Bach.
Good job. Nailed it. In fact,
so yeah, I'm good.
Right away, it's all done, said, and wrote into the blocks. But of course, all of this is all culminating under the month known as November, or Movember for short. In fact, I'm participating in this, and you might wonder, like, hey, why do he have highlights? Why is his mustache also slightly some color of blonde? Well, that's because stretch goals were met, donation goals were hit, and in fact, there were a few victims of those goals, and I being one of them in Chicago. We're going to continue that on here in Atlanta. So, without any further ado, perhaps we take a quicker look inside of what is CS Movember. That's right, Movember is in full swing and it all continues here. There's one man that I would like to see more than any other man with a mustache, and that is going to be the likes of Anders. And in fact, I think if we reach that same stretch goal, Jordan Nothing Gilbert, that's right, Nothing, flashbang dancing dude, that guy will also have to get himself a Mo. Now, let's also head over to that URL at DreamHack. What is that? I do
J. That's a J.
Yeah, it's a G. Yeah, oh yeah, it's all right here. DreamHack or dh.je/csmo. Head over there right now and keep these stretch goals coming because men's mental health is no joke. Men's health is also no joke. And as 3 men, I think we can all be on the same page with that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a pretty bad health scare this year, and being proactive really saved me a lot of suffering. I think it could save a lot of people out there. So definitely be proactive about your health.
Be proactive about it. In fact, we could be proactive as we continue the show here. Awesome. Because it's about time we start talking about compLexity and Envious, guys. This is going to be our first matchup of the day, kicking it off with a banger, or lack thereof, dare I say, as we take a look at the brackets, depending how we want to look at this one, honestly. There's been quite a bit of talk about this Envious lineup and what they're going to be bringing, so it should be interesting to see what they can do here on LAN.
Yeah, it's not been good for them online, that's for sure. They kind of got lucky that they got to play Renegades while they were in Australia, so they avoided getting automatically demoted to Mountain Dew League, but definitely still facing relegation. Have really looked rough. Already made a roster change since the initial lineup was picked up a few months ago. Definitely coming to this a really heavy underdog against a compLexity team that, you know, I think a lot of people are hoping or expecting should do much better than, you know, kind of what they showed us at Star Ladder.
And one of the biggest things for me looking at this team is they have Nifty, but like if I'm Nifty right now, how frustrated am I?
Yeah.
I just left a Renegades team that maybe we weren't winning everything, but we were having some moderate success, and now I come to a team that's having no success.
Right.
How about,
that's got to be disappointing.
Save yourself, guys. Save yourself, because it's time for 3 reasons brought to you by HacksGG and, of course, Bach deliver that down the pipe.
So 3 reasons why compLexity will win. Reason number 1 is going to be Stanislaw's leadership. I mean, hands down, when you look at the leadership across both teams, I think Stanislaw is one of the best IGLs in North America. He also is a puppet master. He likes to control every aspect of the game. And I think that the pieces for compLexity are finally starting to work with that leadership in conjunction with the coach behind them in Rambo. Reason number 2 is actually going to be the stronger map pool. Envy has very poor results on numerous maps, and the bans actually line up for both teams, which favors compLexity, because compLexity's good maps are better than Envy's good maps, even though they're the same. And then reason number 3 is going to be the yay factor. I mean, that man has a beautiful smile. Everyone loves him. He's a meme. He's going to have fun, and once he starts having fun, I think everything for compLexity is just going to amplify.
And that was 3 reasons brought to you by HacksGG. A fabulous thing that they're doing here. And of course, content brought to you by them will be here all weekend, especially as we go into our first matchup here of Group A, the Group A opening matchup. But first, we need to find out what map we're going to. This is a best of 1. This is not a best of 3. Anything could happen here, guys. Yeah,
I mean, here's the thing. Like, Envy only has a positive win rate on a single map out of the 7, which is Mirage.
Yeah.
So that would probably be where they would want to steer towards. Maybe Cash is something that they've played a lot. And I think that, you know, compLexity obviously super good on Inferno, but also can play some Cash in Mirage. So I would expect it to kind of go that direction.
Yeah, I'd say that Overpass and Train will probably be the first 2 bans, and you could flip a coin as to who bans what first. And then Nuke should be out of the way not that long after.
Right.
Well, time will tell because the bans are rolling in now, boys. Let's see if your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, exactly the way we expected to go so far. Envy, respect bans, Inferno, that was really smart. So yeah, we're going to wind up on Cash or Mirage. It looks like it's going to be Cash. Okay.
2 North American teams ending up on a North American map in Cash. It could have really been Cash or Mirage. It was really, if you actually look at their head-to-heads, they're tied 1-1 in the last couple months, and they played Cash and Mirage. So it wasn't really a surprise at all that we'd end up on one of those 2.
Well, no surprise that we should also start to take a closer look at the teams on the stage. We're just starting with Envious or Envy. I'm not real sure what to call them. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a, dare I say, identity crisis. Is that fair to say?
Sure.
JDM, Poyo, Cutler, Nifty, and Drone. And there are some promising names within this lineup. And I guess, generally speaking, yes, you're going to see HLTV ranking 87th. That's pretty far down the list. But what were some of the conceptions of this team from the get-go, right when Envy said they were coming back to Counter-Strike?
I mean, it didn't look good right off the bat. I mean, when they got the lineup, you could understand, okay, like they had to get this core because they wanted to keep an EPL spot, so they needed to maintain people like Drone, like Cutler, like Simphus originally was on the team as well. He's already been removed. But, I mean, there's just a lot of issues there because, one, you're bringing in Nifty, who is a former Opera and in-game leader, and he's doing neither role for this team. You've brought in JDM, who, you know, hasn't played a LAN match in almost a year probably, or at least not, you know, at a bigger event like this. And so, yeah, there's just, a lot of identity crisis there with roles. And also, there's just no clear star player on this team. Like, no one has been really performing well on a consistent basis in the EPL. Every now and then, someone will have a big game, like JDM will have a big game, or, Nifty will have a good game, but nothing at any level of consistency. Like, they are really struggling to find their identity with this team. I
feel like that's maybe the biggest threat to complexity is potentially the double op setup that you could see come out from Envy with Nifty and JDM both being able to carry the op. Maybe there's that star player factor that could get them some rounds, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near enough. And if you expand their stats out as well, we have to remember that this team was also playing under the Boxer tag not that long ago before they were picked up. Their stats are actually 10 and 30, so it looks even worse when you start expanding over the past couple of months, looking at what they were before. It's just, I really have low expectations for this roster.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for what happened, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, they would have been automatically demoted to the Mountain Dew League when the only professional league they're playing in is EPL. Now they do get a chance to play for relegation because they were able to beat Renegades, but I mean, yeah, 6-16 record in the EPL, very much towards the bottom. Again, no one's consistently performing well. It's like, who can I rely on to put up big numbers on an in-and-out basis? You hope JDM's going to return to star form with the AWP. He used to be, the #1 opper in the North American region, or maybe like #2 right behind Skadoodle. But again, it feels like no one on this team has really been impressive on an in-and-out basis.
Yeah, it was always considered sort of an enemy at the gate scenario, if you will, between Skadoodle and JDM. Where in which, Skadoodle continues on, JDM kind of falters off, goes away from Liquid. He has hit this time off, and this is his resurgence. But I think one key talking point within this team is also going to have to be Poyo coming into play this weekend, or what's going on in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's a last-minute sub-in. I like Poyo as a player, and I think that Poyo does give them a little bit of a boost over Semphis. I think that Semphis' numbers have definitely dipped in recent years. They're not necessarily where he used to be. And even though he went away from the op and finally went back to rifling now that they brought in a true op presence, I still think that Poyo is an upgrade for this team. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Probably not going to be enough against our next team. It's going to be that of compLexity, also known as compLexity Gaming, hailing from the Lone Star state of Texas. It's going to be Shazam, Def, Stanislaw, Ye, and Android. Now, this is a team that made waves at the Major, and, well, since then, what have we had?
Yeah, I mean, they went dead last at Star Ladder right afterwards. They weren't even competitive in that tournament. Huge losses to Big and Renegades, teams that they were able to beat that level of team over at the Major. So it was definitely a big fall off. They also missed out on playoffs for both ECS and EPL, at least avoided relegation, but again, nothing really too impressive. And then, really the only high mark for them lately is the fact that they at least placed top 4 at CS Summit. They won some best-of-3s against G2 and Heroic, only losing out to Optic twice, which has kind of been their rival even at DreamHack Open events. They're not going to be here, obviously. So yeah, I mean, this is a team that is hard to put your thumb on because you've definitely seen promise. You can definitely see on paper that they have some pieces to work with. Having Stanislaw as an in-game leader is great. He's definitely, a veteran at this point in that role. He's actually one of the guys that can frag in the in-game leader position, like a Steel, like a Nitro. So he's definitely great to have, and Shazam is probably one of the more stable operators in the NA region right now. So you have some great pieces, and you have some youngsters that can pop off. But the problem is with compLexity lately is I feel like Def and Ye, who were so good as like an entry rifling combo at the Major, they have not played as well lately. I think that's really been one of the biggest problems compLexity is facing right now is they're not getting those consistent performances anymore.
Imagine saying that like a year ago. Shazam is the most consistent opper in North America.
That's from North America.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, when you really look at it, over the course of his career, he's always been very flashy with his op, and he would have really big, impactful games, and then follow that up with a dud. You can even just look at his time with Cloud9, and that was basically the epitome of his time with Cloud9, was big games followed by nothing. But at the Major, he was fantastic, and not even with the op. If you actually look at his highlights, a lot of that was done with a rifle.
Yeah. I also think they're kind of scrambling just a little bit, because I know that we're going to be playing Cash because we already got to see them at Veto. And I noticed at Summit they've been actually swapping a lot of positions on their T side, so it feels like they're starting to get a little bit concerned about maybe what roles people are playing. Def, they were kind of using him, outside the B-bomb side and stuff like that. Now they have him kind of playing back at Squeaky Doors, so they've been changing up their T-side spots. This is definitely a team that I think is going to be better structurally. I think that they do have the ability to kind of play like a system Stanislaw likes, maybe allowing guys like Ye and stuff to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more loose, but they can rein it in and play some more structured set pieces and stuff like that. So they have a good mixture, a well-balanced approach to the game, something I feel like Envy doesn't really have right now.
Well, you want to talk about balance, you want to talk about bringing it back in, honing it in. That's what we're going to do here with the fan vote brought to you by LG Ultra Gear Gaming. And that's right, the gaming monitors that'll let you see all the hertz and all the refresh rates that you could possibly think of. And, well, you can get involved in the chat by using !Cole or !Envy. And And let's see that chat light up. I know all of you are sitting there on your Friday morning in your underwear, eating cereal, just ready to get it going. But this is how you really kick off the weekend. And in fact, as we take a look at the betting odds here, or I don't bet. I mean, you guys don't bet, right?
No. That'd be a big no-no, Stunna.
If we take a look at the betting odds, did the numbers look accurate to the storyline we painted?
Sure. Yeah, I think complexity's certainly the favorite, and this makes sense, yeah.
I'd say, if anything, you could even see it go a little bit more in favor, like better odds for Envy if you were to place a bet on that side, simply because even knowing that the map does work a little bit better for Envy than maybe some of the other maps they could have ended up playing, and it is a best of one, I still think that it's easily going to be complexity's game.
Well, we've got just a few extra minutes here. Of course, the first game of the day, opening day here for the DreamHack Open Atlanta. Of course, things are going to take a little bit longer. But I guess I need to ask you guys, when it comes to these two lineups, we obviously know where Envy stands. We know that this isn't necessarily the flashiest of teams that's come out. We do know the complexity's faltered. Is there a world in which complexity is going to fall lower when it comes to, I guess, rankings, when it comes to longevity here?
I mean, again, I think there has been some real concern compared to the individual form we saw out of Ye and Def at the Major to what we've been seeing more recently. Stanislav's been a stud. He's been playing really well. Shazam's been really stable. Android's always kind of been a guy that's not going to be like your star player that carries you, but can do his job and be kind of that stable rock. But Ye and Def are that entry rifling combo that, are doing really good work for them at the Major, really good work for them at the Americas Minor. I feel like their stats have kind of fallen off, and you've seen that now they've actually kind of put Stanislav being more active on a map like Cash, which we're about to see. They've kind of put Def back on the edge of the map. So I do kind of wonder, are they scrambling? Are they panicking? Are these calculated adjustments to their T side? Are Ye and Def going to be able to step back up? And so, really the point I'm trying to make here with Senna's question is I think that complexity trajectory will rely heavily upon what Ye and Def look like going forward.
Yeah, and I think the fear right now, if you're one of those two players, is that if things continue to just kind of be mediocre, like you'd mentioned, surviving relegation effectively, not getting relegated, that's been Complexity's praise point for multiple seasons, not getting relegated. That's not a success. That's mediocrity. So
at its best.
Yeah, I mean,
really.
So it's been a problem for them for a long time, this just string of mediocrity. If I'm one of those players, making it out of groups is not good enough. I have to at least make it to the finals, or otherwise I'm kind of concerned about my safety in the roster, because if Complexity might want to consider making a change at that point.
And look, Jason Lake has been very forward with this messaging in like the different content Complexity does with like POV and the podcast, that he will make moves if he feels it is necessary. So yeah, I do think there is maybe that added pressure for some of these guys.
I'm going to add some pressure onto you guys. We're going to get into some predictions here. I know we've kind of painted the picture of what we expect to happen, but I think at this point I need you to actually ink it in, lock it in on stone, and let's see what your predictions are going into this one.
I'm going to have to go with Complexity. I just think they're ahead on all fronts. Strategy, consistent consistent performances from their players, a good map for them and Cash. So yeah, I got to give it to them.
Complexity, not even close. I would be surprised if Envy gets 10
double
rounds.
digits? Okay.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
Damn.
I think it's like a 16-8, 16-9 type game.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, just one of those games where if you look at the scoreline, it's never one where, this team had control of the match at all. I also have to side with Complexity, but no bias towards Jason Lake and crew. I'm a big fan of what they got going on over there. I think that they're doing it just right. Anyway, I asked you in Twitch chat to get involved. I asked you to put your votes in there. I actually asked you to just spam the chat.
Ooh.
And we're going to take a look. Oh, wow. These numbers brought to you by LG Ultra Gear Gaming Monitor. Well,
a little bit closer than I thought.
Yeah, that's pretty damn close for what it's supposed to be. Why, guys? Why would Twitch chat believe it to be this way?
I mean, there's some popular names over on Envy, which are definitely great guys. And it's not like I want them to fail. It's just I haven't seen anything out of them yet that leads me to believe that they will succeed in this matchup. But, yeah, certainly some cool guys over there. And I can understand why, some people are fans for sure.
Yeah, and just like we were said, like looking at the head-to-head between these two teams, they played Mirage and Cash, and I think Complexity beat them on Mirage, and I think Envy beat them on Cash. So I can understand why
people... It was a close game, though. It was like 16-14.
Neither one was really like a blowout. They were both sort of close, but I still think this one, like, I think the stats from that vote were a little bit skewed. I would say that it's definitely a little bit more...
70-30.
Yeah, I'd say right there.
So that means Twitch chat, we need you to come together. We need you to do it right next time. Make sure that you're all getting your votes in. There will be no hanging chads. There will be no collusion. There will be no recounts. There will be none of that. We're going straight for the cold, hard numbers that you provide in Twitch chat.
The cold, hard numbers.
Yeah, well.
I'll leave.
He'll be here all weekend.
Yes, nice. Anyway, you know who else is going to be here all weekend? That digital pass, should you buy one, brought to you by Snipe. That's the one way to get the true experience of this DreamHack Open Atlanta. Head over to dreamhack.com/digitalpass. Purchase that bad boy, and then smooth sailing, cruising the whole weekend. Isn't that right, Dust?
Indeed. Cruising.
Indeed. Well, like our next two who are cruising 24/7, might even call them cruising USA or cruising Denmark, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Anyway, we got our commentators. Let's go ahead and bring them into the fold. It's going to be Blue and Risk, guys. First and foremost, good job, Blue. You did bring a mustache to work today. That was part of the requirements. So how's it going over there, fellas?
It's going pretty good. The mustache is feeling good, ready to rock, ready to get jump into the cast, really.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Really impressed by the mustache.
Are you? Yeah. I think it looks like crap, personally.
Yeah. I can't grow anything, so it's like, for me, it's
been like 3 weeks.
We can't all look good with the mustache, man. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we have just a couple more seconds here before we get into the game. Anything you guys have enjoyed in Atlanta thus far? Waffle House, perhaps?
Waffle House, for sure.
Lemon pepper wings.
Lemon pepper wings?
Very nice.
Now that's a play.
I got this lemon pepper wet wings if you watch Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, like lemon pepper wet and also dry. It's both been really good.
I haven't had wings yet, unfortunately, but I'll have to try some this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You sound sad, Blue. I don't know what it is.
No, I think it's just early in the morning. I have to warm the voice up. We'll get good by the time we get to the cast.
Get that man a monster. And let's get into this damn game of cash. compLexity versus Envy, and it's time to jump into it and time to LO3. Take it away, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Stunna. And it's going to be our honor to present the first game of the tournament to you guys. We're going to be jumping into it in just a second. compLexity going up against Envious. And of course, we'll be starting off on Cash, so North America's battleground to kick off the tournament.
Obviously. Going to be very exciting to see what these players can bring into the mix. Really excited to see what Poyo can kind of bring into it. Nifty also has that quality where he can just step up and just own an entire game. So that's what I need to see from Envious. That's kind of like the win scenarios. If they are going to grab a win here, we're going to have to see that performance from him, because the setup, the standard setup from compLexity is just, in my opinion, better than the one on Envy. So we're going to have to see something out of the ordinary from the star players on Envy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And there is reason to believe that when you look at Envy, you can understand their confidence going into this map on Cash. It's their most played map. They have a winning record against compLexity on, or at least one map that they've managed to take. It was very close, mind you, when all 30 rounds ended up being a 16-14 victory, but they did indeed take it. On the over-under, though, they're still negative overall for this map in their play. They've got good records on their pistols, but in terms of even just round shares that they've won, it's still under 50% win-loss, so they're not looking that great from an overall perspective on this map, so I think they're banking a lot of their confidence on that one victory from an online match a few weeks back.
Yeah, that's how it is sometimes, like when you have all these online leagues, there's so many stats that you're not really sure, like, how much can you use it? We have this saying back in the day in Denmark, like online stats don't really count. It's all about those LAN matches, and especially the LAN best of threes. So I'm kind of waiting to see how this game goes before I'll go into any kind of predictions, because it's so hard to use these online stats for, like, compare them to a LAN matchup.
Yeah, and from the individual perspective, though, I do think that there is a decent chance this matchup ends up being close, as they were explaining on the desk. So a lot of, in addition to like newer players that are on this team for Envy, there's a lot of very legendary names that come into it too. If you go back 1 or 2 years in the NA scene, so it's been a while. That's the problem for a lot of those names. So don't exactly know how well exactly those individual statistics are going to maybe or maybe not show up. There's basically a huge question mark for Envy right now, and a lot of people seem to be pointing it towards the negative side, and I generally tend to agree with that.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. Like, anything can happen. That's the beauty of CS sometimes, because you can have teams, let's say Virtus Pro, for an example, who just, like, go disappearing for, like, a year, and then all of a sudden, in one best-of-3 series on LAN, they'll just show up and be that old self again. And I'm looking forward to if that's going to happen for Envy. If you can see, like, a old-school performance out at JDM where he just steps up and destroys everyone. We can see Nifty getting close to that 50, of course. Like, everyone doing that old-style, like, experience. If we can see that happen, then yes, this could be an interesting matchup, and this could be 14-16 or even going to overtime. But I think the ball is in Envy's court right now. Like, compLexity, they got a lockdown on the system, lockdown on the strategies. I think their T side is really good, especially on Cash. So it's going to be hard for the Envy guys.
Yeah, absolutely, and they just bring a lot more. They just bring a lot more good team cohesion together. When you look at like their management team and all that's sitting behind them right now, compLexity is a really good core setup for their squad. They've got a really solid IGL behind Stanislaw, and that pretty much goes without saying at this point. Along with a lot of very good core players that definitely can make an impact if it is asked upon them. It might be inconsistent here and there, but it can definitely show up. And I think in these more, I guess you could call this one a little bit more of a low pressure matchup for them. Yeah. Normally it tends to show up, so it's a pretty safe bet right now to say compLexity is the advantage team going into this one, and by a pretty decent margin as well. Oh, for sure.
Also the coaching staff that's behind the guys over at compLexity. Of course, Rainbow, the direct coach, and then Warden, also 1.6 legend, the team manager. So the whole kind of like staff behind them. And it's kind of funny to see because, of course, like compLexity have the connection to the NFL team, right? And that's whole like coaching staff idea of having so many people who can help the players perform at the absolute top level. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes forward. And if other other teams are starting to like copy that also on like a lower tier, because I know that's something that's happening in Europe and Scandinavia right now, is that every single team is trying to hire all these managers and coaches, because it seems like creating that infrastructure is so important for growing players into this kind of level where they can perform on international LAN stages.
As you can see on the screen, though, it is going to be a best of one, so that does open up Pandora's box when it comes to the possibilities of this matchup. Obviously, with it being a best of one, there is still that chance, and it's not completely in the nether regions. There is a good chance that we could see Envy pull out an upset here, and again, especially with it being on Cash, a map that they do have, with the limited history of this roster, a decent amount of play time together on, including at least one win in an online match versus compLexity, which they may be able to leverage into this matchup. It should be close, as the desk was saying, something around 8-9 rounds at minimum, I would say, for the losing teams. I definitely expect there to be a little bit of scrappiness between the two teams here, but overall, at the end of the day, it is going to rely a lot on momentum, I feel, when it gets down into the actual, towards the end of the matchup here.
That's also something that I kind of like note about teams that have really strong T-sides, and this is the case for compLexity on this map specifically. If you have that really strong T-side, you can just like keep on rolling on that T-side, maybe get like a 10-5, 11-4, but if you really can't get the momentum going on the CT side, it can become a really close match. So it all comes down to if they can keep this momentum going on the T side, yes, that's probably what we're going to see. But can they get it going on CT as well? Can they get those like clutch rounds in? Can they get those 1v1s, those 1v2s, all that stuff? If that can happen, then this could be very one-sided. If it doesn't go their way and Envy starts popping off and you see JDM with clutches and all that stuff, then this might go all the way to the wire. But it's going to be hard to say before we get started. Of course, still waiting here for the players. We want to get them 100% ready before the start match.
I think we are getting close, though, ladies and gentlemen, so just a few more moments here. But if anyone is going to show up for me, at least basing it, and again, it's online stats, so take that for what you will. But I am going to be looking to see JDM have a decent performance to start this one off. He's been the one that's been a little bit more consistent online, so we'll have to see, again, if that is able to successfully transition to LAN. But it is ready to begin, ladies and gentlemen, so let's dive head first into our first map of the tournament here on Cash. And it's going to be compLexity starting off on the CT side, going up against Envy on offense.
2 smokes and 1 Molotov, 2 flashbangs, Cutler and Nifty, and setting up for a pretty standard play here towards A. For now, compLexity have decided to completely stack on the opposite end of the bomb site, so this might be actually a free plan for Envy, and they're going to throw all this utility, but it's not really going to matter that much. They're going to take the site for free almost. Pretty much dry running strats at this point because there's no one here. They're taking control over B halls, and now the jig is up. The bomb plant has got to go down, and we're going to go into the retake.
And we see the retake moving in relatively quickly from compLexity. Already players sitting outside of A main, ready to retake from the inside of that position. But Envy at the same time also have a hard lock on this site. It'll be Nifty that finds the initial kill on the round. Second trade is found, and it's 3, in fact, from compLexity, completely wiping most of the now defensive setup off the board. And it's not too much effort to get kills 4 and 5 as well to set up compLexity with the first round win.
I really like the double peek they tried to do in the beginning of A main, like the 2 CT players coming in and kind of baiting for each other, trying to take out that one player in T main. When you have control over that area, it gets so much easier to just go into the bomb site. They just want all their duels, so that also, of course, makes it easier when Shazam is hitting shots like this, and you can just go into the bomb site. But yeah, this was basically what Envy wanted. They got the bomb plant for free, they got into post-plant positions, and then everything just fell apart. Now, of course, due to the money system, we see around 2,400 on all these players on Envy, and then deciding to go for almost a complete eco. Couple of pistols, Desert Eagles on Poyo and Nifty, and then we're going to see the full investment next round.
And it should be no surprise that we see players like Shazam popping off on the pistol round. Again, especially on LAN, considering that's very much what Shazam is known for. So that's just a good start for him and a good sign for compLexity fans that are watching the match right now that want to see them get off to a strong 6-7 round start here on the CT side for Cash.
Def with the MP9. Jiggling around the door, doing some damage. This round should be nowhere near close, so he's just trying to make sure that he's not taking any duels that are too dangerous, just making sure that he doesn't get into a direct duel with a Deagle, but Stanislav will take down Nifty, and Def with 1 onto Poyo. Now it's only 3 members remaining. They have gotten mid control though, but at this point it's very hard for them to use it for anything.
Right now, Envy really trying to fish out mistakes, it seems like, from compLexity, trying to see if they can get them to over-peak or make any kind of aggressive mistakes to pick up kills that way. Unfortunately, it's just not panning out. compLexity are constantly getting the drop on Envy here, and as you can see, it's brought them down to only 1 player left alive, and it won't stay that way for very long either. compLexity with a flawless first anti-eco round sets them up at 2-0.
Yeah, and the problem becomes, like, let's say compLexity reaches maybe 6 or 7 rounds on the CT side. I think if they reach like 7, they're good. They can roll it like home on the T side as well. So For the Envy guys, they need to already now be in alert mode and say, okay, we need to take this round now. They cannot be allowed to get this momentum early on the side that they're not most dominant on. That's why, of course, we see the full setup now, as we usually do, with the new money. Changes drone. In the middle of the smoke, taking some damage. Nifty and JDM both going down to 50 HP, and this is not a great start for Envy.
It's a massive amount of volley damage just to get them out into mid. That's the worst part. It hasn't even taken control now as we do see the trade come in from the A. Nifty, thankfully, is there to immediately trade it back and at least keep the raw manpower even at 4 versus 4. But obviously with the HP disadvantage that Envy now has to go up against, they're really going to be up against the wall when it comes to trying to find proper entries. Now they've got the mid control they've looked for. The big question, of course, is where they're going to go. The most obvious option would be to take it towards the A side again, but B's probably going to look enticing considering how poorly the situation evolved in mid as well.
Also, just 2 smokes for this execute, so with that being kept in mind, I would probably go for the B split. But they also do have 1 guy indoors, so that could be a potential sign of what's to come. Let's wait and see what they decide on. Looks like they're grouping up for the A. It's probably smoke down towards left side of red, and then maybe Molotovs towards NBK, which will be the case. A nice nade drone down to 36.
Nades are just absolutely destroying Envy here, but thankfully they're keeping up with entry power. That's all coming from Nifty. 2 quick kills from him, but he'll be put down by Shazam, back by Truck on the way into the actual site. Down to a 2v3. Envy has the man advantage, but HP is still not working into their favor with Cutler at 55 and Drone even lower at just 12 HP to play off of here. The push is now going to come in on the retake from both Android and Shazam. Shazam probably having the worst off, but no, Android gives away his position far too early, and Shazam just outright goes down to Poyo in the site, leaving it all on Android, and he has no way to reinitiate now, so we might just have to back away and save and give the round over to Envy.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the case. There's no reason to go into this 1v3 at this point. The main reason could be that, okay, they probably know one of the players is low on HP, so maybe you can try and deny that weapon, but bringing that FAMAS into the next round is probably fine as well. One thing I have to note as well in this round is 1 Molotov, 1 smoke to the left of red to block off the short angle, and 2 flashbangs. That was all the utility they used to take that side. If you're on the CT side, on that A bomb side, and they throw that kind of utility at you and you can't hold it, that's a big problem, because when you come in with a really big structured A push with like 3 Molotovs, 3 smokes and flashes all over, you're going to have an even worse time. If they throw a light setup at you and you still crumble, that's a really bad sign for the coming of this T side.
compLexity are going to have to try and make up to that relatively quickly as their money does melt down going into the next round. It gives them, of course, the full rebuy for this round. Somewhat limited utility, but they've got the basics that are needed to hold off the usual Envy push here. The problem surfaces if we see exactly what happened in the last round happen again, that's when their money melts down and Envy will take the overall advantage and probably the lead in the following round too, with compLexity having no choice but to fall onto an eco round at that point.
Double up setup, Def and Shazam. Shazam has the full armor, Def is on a glass cannon. That leaves Ye in middle, just a jump spot, which makes a lot of sense. And now we're going to see some utility put out here and towards mid, and they're slowly going to take control, Team Envy. Not opposed. No one's trying to duel them. Just going to try and slowly but surely going to take it over, but Shazam has rotated in, switched up positions with Ye, and now able to take the duel, find that first one. JDM is just waiting. But you know Shazam is never going to peek that angle anyways. That's way too... It's way... like that angle is so dangerous, so he's not going to go peek that.
Looks like
no worries.
Nifty, however, is still sitting here waiting for the eventual peek at the door, but as you mentioned, it's not happening anytime soon here. Time, however, is getting low, so Nifty may have to force the issue, and at just a moment, he's going to move in, but it's Shazam in mid. Nifty does strike first, but unfortunately, with the failing at mid, Stanislaw still holds a position. Swing out, trying to get a second kill, but instead just does great damage to Cutler. The damage might be enough, however, as now compLexity still has a 3v2 advantage as Envy move in for a forced plant in the back corner. Cutler will put it down on the ground. Poyo holds the line on the vent rotate, evens out the numbers into a 2v2, and now it's down to just the players trying to rotate in through Tree Room in Heaven as you're down to Def and Shazam. Cutler, the strike, they walk right into him, and he takes down both to tie the game up at 2-2.
Such a hard scenario, retaking with 2 ops in a 2v2. I would have to say, like, if Stanislaw gets that second frag coming out of the vents, actually really nice position from him to rotate into the vents, take that first frag. Maybe gets a little bit too over-eager and drops in for that second one, doesn't finish it. If it would have been a 3v1 in that scenario, like 2 ops retaking is not a problem, but if it's a 2v2 with 2 ops retaking, that's such a big commitment, and that's so hard to do that. In that scenario, I would probably rather see them save. I know that's a very conservative thing to do, but retaking with 2 ops is so hard.
Well, we've got Nifty stepping up to the plate once again, and obviously this round will prove to be quite easier to find that entry kill than we saw in the previous round, as he only has to go up against, I think it's just base pistols for the most part, unless Shazam picked up a P250 there. I don't think it's the case. Drone will strike first in mid instead, just gets a little bit aggressive on highway, finds him a nice early pick, and his teammate will find a second one from a little bit further back. Drone will get dinked, but looks like he holds on quite all right to find the frag on a Stanislaw. Just 2 remaining already here on compLexity. Scratch that, now just 1.
Getting like old school vibes of the ecos back in like 2002 when ecos were ecos, you know, and like no investment whatsoever. We've seen many years of Counter-Strike where the 4 spies have been pretty much reigning for like the last 4 years, but now we're back to a scenario where an eco is a like non-investment round and you almost have no chance of winning it, and then if you turn it around, it's such a big thing. I actually like that a bit more than all the 4 spying going on, but then again, I've been playing CS for a while, so I'm probably getting like nostalgic and all that stuff.
Just goes back to what you're comfortable with, I suppose,
yeah,
in
exactly.
a certain way.
The good old days. Oh, okay, yay! Taking out a 7 HP. That's a nice beginning of the round for Team Envy. JDM. Not exactly sure what he did, but what he did was definitely great for the incoming round. Now they're setting up for the mid control with Molotov. Gonna get the boost over his orb, but Ye is already in the vent. He can rotate back in, put the smoke down if he wants, or hold the angle. Slowly but surely. Getting JDM into position.
JDM still looking for that opening opportunity, primarily by the white box, so gets distracted by another player down below, and it'll leave him overexposed, unable to back up behind the boost-up box, and Stanislaw will take him out as a result of that. Good start to the round once again now as compLexity reinvigorate themselves, but now they've got to deal with another direct hit coming into the B box. Stanislaw and Shazam work together to hold off 3 players from Envy, bringing it all down to Cutler now.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to win this 1v5. Cutler is a nice player, has some good experience, but this is just too much for him. Shazam is already locking it down. Stanislaw on 3 kills. He's at max, he can hope for getting that 1 frag onto Ye, who's sitting in T-spawn, and then maybe rotating away and saving his weapon. That's the best case scenario for him right now. But the money on his team will allow him to say, okay, let's just try and see if I can go for X amount of kills. How much can I get out of this? And it will be nothing.
With that, we have a very solid round finally being shown once again from compLexity. Didn't take long, but it seems they have woken up on defense here now and have a strong hold against that last-second push from Envy into the A site.
The exact same setup as they used last time, but no Molotov NBK corner this time around. It's basically the same smoke to the left of red, and they've seen that before, so they just straight smoke to the other side of it and then just play in the smoke. That's basically what Stanislaw and the guys did. So it's very easy for compLexity to kind of find out what the counter is when the T-side strats are that simple. And if they don't have anything, if they don't have any more depth in their T-side strats, then it's going to be very easy for compLexity to just read this throughout the game. And even if they get some like timeouts in as well, I'm fearing for the Envy guys. But then again, we know they have the firepower, and sometimes you can just go for a straight-up rush strat, and if you have the firepower to get those double entries, then the round can change.
Yeah, this should prove to be a pivotal point for Envy, because now we get to really see how good they are going to be at adjusting their own strategies and seeing if they're going to bring anything new to the table here to try and change up their luck a bit. It's going to start with very direct mid-play, but unfortunately, it's not working out so well. Dev just carrying through the pieces, but there are corresponding trades. Cutler and Drone find just as much damage. The problem, though, is Drone also loses pretty much all of his HP. He's down to just under 20 now, and he's not going to be able to take any front-forward fights anymore for the rest of the round. compLexity do not look strained at all as a result of that fight. Still with good control. A little bit of an overcommitment of the current time to the B-bomb site, but they're already adjusting that with Stanislaw moving more so towards Z, and just keeping a 1-1-1 split across the map as they sit back and wait to see exactly how Envy wants to play this.
Decent utility on the Envy side. Definitely have all the grenades they could want for an execute. And if they can block off Shazam's angle, and potentially even Molotov the rotating angle in, then they might have a chance to Drone. With a low HP on the riskiest flank, onto short. Shazam, no smoke whatsoever, so this is completely free for him.
Molly's going to force him out into the open here a little bit. He was hoping the peak would follow it up from another player on Envy, but didn't get that. Instead, what we do see, though, is Drone falling, trying to push up towards Highway. Cutler now left alone. Dodges the initial op shot that's thrown against him, but now locked in a corner behind the forklift truck. Molly will block off his only other real path to get into the site, and with that, that'll close it out. Stanislaw will pick up the final kill. It's another one from compLexity.
You can see they didn't really expect Shazam to go straight up for the fight in that angle. So instead of just smoking off, let's say, NBK or the back box, they try to go for the Molotov after they got in the initial peek towards the position. But Shazam is just ready for that. He takes the first frag, yes, the Molotov then drops in and he's forced to change position. But at that point, he already won one duel and he could just rotate into NBK and not hold that tight corner. So once again, like Team Envy, basically the setup on the T side is not as impressive as I would want it to be. It's not far off. They're definitely showing that they have some kind of like decent mid-level T side, but it's just not enough to beat compLexity at this point.
Like Envy's going to try to speed things up this time, because they are in an eco after all, and unsurprisingly, it doesn't go very well. They're left with only one player still standing. We do see one trait from Cutler in the process, but that's going to be the only kill they find this time. It's a very straightforward affair as they attempt to rush themselves onto the A-bomb site, and it fails outright, giving compLexity a 5th round now.
I'm kind of unsure what the plan was there. It looked actually like they wanted to go into the side and take the duels. Usually in those rounds you would maybe just want to get the smoke down and then get a free plant, but in this scenario they actually just went for the duels straight up. Of course, Ye hitting that triple spray down, that's unfortunate for them. If they could grab one M4 and then got the bomb down, then the round would have been perfect, but it doesn't happen this time around. Boost here on the truck. But JDM sees nothing, and it's been very hard for him to open up this mid. He's on 007 right now, and he hasn't been able to deliver any kind of performance into that mid, taking that mid control, winning duels against maybe a rotating Shazam. That just hasn't happened yet. And he's one of those guys, we talked about it before the game, him and Nifty have the potential to kind of step up and take this game in their own control, and that definitely hasn't happened yet for JDM.
No. Not for really anyone on Envy here at this point. We've seen Nifty have really good entry power, but that's only been on 1 or 2 real key rounds, and only one round it's actually led to a win for them so far. So they really need to wake up that firepower, find a better way to utilize it, or just come up with a new plan here, because right now the current status quo is not working for them at all. This time, though, seems to be taking a much slower note to things as they've held back, even scared to really take A main control before they hit the 1-minute marker. They've just now moved to the inside of it, and of course, you can see JDM is going to posture up for mid control again. Shazam has already stopped his first player that attempts to move out against him, though, as he destroys Nifty back over by the B halls, taking him down and bringing Envy to 4. While in the meantime, they try to take mid control again, but it's a bit tepid as they're still looking to push the player on CT side out from White Box. They've done that, they're just not short of it yet, as they're now finally going to move it through the vents.
Cutler and the boys now getting ready. Drone finding the first one on Android. Smoke's now being lined up towards CT and upper. Let's see if they can find the guy that's Sam with the orb. Already one frag to his name in this round. Looking to hold this, will miss the shot, and now his chance has also gone. Poyo with a fire. Turns into a crisp, and Def now stepping in. The British citizen will not be able to do anything, and now 2v4 probably looking at safe territory at this point.
Too much pressure thrown against him, although that's some nice spam coming in there, I believe, for Stan to be able to nearly knock out JDM. He almost hits his mark a few moments later, too. But unfortunately, retaking this B site with this much control for Envy is going to prove incredibly hard to pull off, although the missed shot opens a chance, which is quickly shut down by JDM. Yeah, he immediately taken out as soon as he leaps from the vents, and that leaves Stan all alone to just fall back and save here in a moment, setting up Envy for a 4th round.
Nicely done there. Envy just going for the quick B play. Just not hitting the shot, and then you can just take the advantage, because the second you miss that shot and the Molotov is on you, you're just screwed in that position. One thing I would like to give compLexity credit for, though, is taking control of the game even though they're on the CT side, and they're doing that by doing the spawn rotation or AWP peaks. So basically, when Shazam has a good spawn for A, he'll go A. If he has a good spawn to go in and rotate help mid, or in this round, he'll go B and find that opening. That way you can kind of take control of the match and kind of say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Yes, we're on the CT side with the one receiving whatever you throw at us, but with that aggressive AWP push, you take that first kill, and then you say, okay, now the round is in our behalf. We can now control this pace of this game. But then again, if Envy just throw in a couple of nice entries, and miss shot from Sam, then it can all turn. But it's a good beginning to the round, and I like the general theory behind it. Taking control of the game even though you're on the CT side.
Bit of a change up in the strat finally there from Envy as well, as they generally speaking attempted to go for an AXQ for the past like 3 to 4 rounds now. First time they've tried B in a while, and hey, it works out well for them. So that might have caught compLexity off guard a little bit in the last round too. Now we're going to see how they evolve this. As currently, obviously, it looks like they're going back to a more straightforward A hit, but we'll see how that evolves as we get closer to like the 50-second mark where those strategies really start to show themselves a bit better. Same economical situation for compLexity now too, where unfortunately only 1 round lost, and they're pretty much broken right from the get-go. You can see the only ones really got money left over is Stan. Besides that, everyone else is on immediate eco territory if they end up dying on this round.
It's a big problem. Backs against the wall. 5-4. Decent scoreline so far for compLexity. Def will find one with his AWP. Drone goes down. Ye with another one, but they do gain entry into this bomb site. But without any frags, they need to get this one onto Android, but he doubles up, and then the round is just completely over. Triple for Android. Nice A-side hold, and 6-4 will be the score.
Pollo, unfortunately, just failing outright right there, trying to stop the push that happened back over by Forklift. Just tears them to shreds. The Forklift player, I think, picks up 2, if not 3 kills out of that situation and completely destroys the hit. As, yeah, we can see it was Android that pushed up there himself and does massive damage to that push that was coming out from Envy and was working, actually, up to that point, in my opinion. Unfortunately, just fell flat as soon as Forklift control was lost.
Yeah, the second that one guy dies for the, I don't really remember who it was, but there was a failed AK spray toward Forklift. He's basically, that guy, his job is to clear that angle. And if he fails that leaves so much open space.
It was Pollo, I think,
yeah,
that ended up failing there, Forklift.
For then Android to just go in and clear up, because everyone else has other angles that they're watching in this strategy. So the second that guy dies and Forklift control goes to the other side, the round is pretty much over if Android hits his shots. And Android being Android usually does that.
Yeah, and so this economical situation just gets turned on its head, because now it's Envy that's put onto an immediate eco directly afterwards. It's not because their money is down in the dumps, though. It's just because they're slightly under the amount they need, so they're going to do one kind of half buy / light buy round here, and then buy up on the round after. So this isn't too much of a speed bump for them. Would probably be the same obstacle that compLexity would have had to go up against. But unfortunately, it does lend itself to believe now that compLexity is going to be able to shoot ahead by at minimum 3, if not 4 rounds again here. So compLexity, while they're not dominating this matchup, they're still maintaining the solid lead that I think a lot of the analysts were predicting they were going to have at this point. Oh, another nice nade. That's the other problem for Envy here, too. They just keep getting destroyed by nades, unfortunately.
Stand ready and waiting, picking up 2 easy frags. Eco frags always nice for the stats, as the round will clear up. As Cutlass, the last man waiting. Couple of grenades, smoke and a flashbang, and a Desert Eagle invested into the round. But going to be very hard for him to get anything out of this. If he can just get 1 weapon, that's fine. He's not even going to be able to do that. 7 rounds now, and we have to still remember, around 70% of the rounds that compLexity actually win on this map are won on the T side. They have a really, really strong T side on cash. So the fact that they can go up maybe like 8 or 9 rounds on the CT side, that's a big problem coming in for Envy. They need to get, stop this momentum right now. And now we do have the buy coming in, so this is the time. We also have JDM on an AWP. Usually you would say that that's like one of the key things, but so far in this matchup, JDM has really been missing. I'm really looking forward to see him step up to the plate, show that vintage style that he can show, and just dominate the substitution.
I'd still be asking too much from him, unfortunately, this early on in the event, considering it has been a bit since we've seen a lot of these more old school players jump onto LAN. So.
That is true. Wishful thinking, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how the later matches go, to be completely honest, because like I said, this one, best of 1 against a team that, unfortunately, even though it's in the same region as you, it's still a very tough matchup when you look at it, because it's a very dedicated and strong team that generally speaking is very well lined up when it comes to strats and things like that. So it's not a team that's inexperienced like Envy is that would be able to easily break, even with the more experienced players that they have on the actual roster. Started off well this round though, with a kill on Shazam, and now the follow-up, the quick storming of mid that allows them to get quick Vents control, and now has pretty much moved them into the B site here too. They're running into a little bit of an obstacle to get out on the actual site. We'll see how this unfolds. 3 quick kills from compLexity. Seem to have turned it back around, but Cutler's holding strong with 2 of his own.
Yay with 6,200. Definitely going to go for this one. They have enough money to say just go for this. 1v2, usually always, if you have a slight timing advantage, you should go for it. He's going to take the first one, but Cutler is too fast. Triple kill for him. Nice to see him stepping up, controlling the team and controlling this round as well.
So we are finally going to start to see Envy get a good amount of momentum going for themselves here, despite the near turnaround in the middle of that take that we were seeing from compLexity there. They almost bring it back with the 3 quick kills that they'd picked up for themselves, but at the end of the day, it's held strong for Envy. They're able to come out on top of it, and we enter the last 3 rounds of the half now with a very close scoreline. Only a 2-round lead to compLexity, and again, there's that early nade damage they keep taking. Obviously, this time it's coming in from Amali, but it's JDM goes hunting for heads in mid, and unfortunately ends up losing 2/3 of his HP from the Molly because of it.
Yeah, that's the high risk, high reward scenario, and he gets no reward basically. Kind of going into that Molotov hoping that someone will expose himself, and then you can get the frag and trade down, so maybe you have 40 HP left with an AWP, that's fine, but he doesn't get anything out of it. He only takes damage, and now they do get mid control, but still not looking good for Envy. What's the execute plan here? 2 smokes, 2 Molotovs, and 4 flashbangs. That's all they have. Pollo taken out as well, and this is becoming harder by the minute. JDM needs to get this frag, but he's mauled off as well, down to 26 now. Drone has to be the opener on this B bomb site, because that's the way they're going, but the timing is not going to go his way. Stanislaw and Shazam both with frags, and now 5v2 scenario. This is definitely going to be 8 rounds for complexity.
They can't do anything. JDM shut down in mid, and I think
that was
that's
through the wall.
Yeah, that comes in there from Def to shut down the rest of the round and finish things off as complexity shut it down. Leave Envy really guessing with what to do there in the late round. You could just see how unorganized it was, unfortunately, and that shows the inexperience at the end of the day.
They're running out of ideas, basically, on the T side, and that's something that's very hard to do for a new team, to kind of establish a playbook on all these different, like, basically you want to play 6 maps, and you want to have a playbook of defaults you can go back to on every single map. But you can see so far, like, Team Envy, we've seen their A push with a smoke on the left side of red. That's pretty fine, but we need to have, like, 2-3 more A defaults, 2-3 more B defaults, and a lot of defaults focusing around mid control. And I think we've seen, like, 1 or 2 defaults towards everything. That's 6 strats in total. That is just simply not, like, deep enough of a strat book if you want to play against, like, a big world-drilled team like complexity. They need more depth, and they don't have that yet. And to be honest, I think it's unfair to expect them to have that at this point.
Yeah.
But then again, like, you know what you have to work with then after this game, because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. Honestly, I think Envy might go into this tournament to a certain extent with the idea of we're going to use this to, like, see where we're at on LAN to a certain extent, and I don't think that's a bad way to go about it at all. This team just has not played enough to where we should expect anything out of them from LAN yet. So overall, this is for them really just a learning experience to see where they're at on LAN and how exactly they can adjust from this point forward.
Yeah, once again, forklift position. Gonna have a easier time than usual since he's against Glocks. Gonna spray them down, but actually Cutler with a nice headshot. He's been doing really well, but now Def on the back of the bomb site. Keeps that 75 in hand, sprays away. Doesn't get the other one. Puyo with 1, and now 1v3 for him.
Unfortunately, completely stuck by the quad boxes here. No easy way to transition over to that bomb, at least without knowing what else is on the site right now. He's going to sit back, try to wait this out, see if he can catch anyone peeking. That might bring this down to a 1v2 before he actually tries to go for that bomb. Because remember, he's working with very minimal intel at this point too, so he has safe reason to assume that someone might be coming from every single possible angle. Unfortunately, the one he doesn't have time to check is the one where he did have to worry. It was Shazam back down highway that finishes him off and concludes the round for complexity once again.
It's actually really smart in this situation what complexity do. They're basically playing a 3v1, but the way that they're playing is that they're maximizing their own chance of winning without losing any weapons. So they're throwing all the utility from CT spawn, but the guy who's actually taking the front peak is your up, down, and middle. He's not making any noise whatsoever, so the team in this position will think, okay, they're throwing utility for CT spawn, that'll be in the back of his mind, and then the peak comes in from the other angle. It's just a nice way of maximizing your chance of not losing anything, basically playing the round to its full extent. And that's what complexity does and are really good at.
And it looks like Envy are going to try to force the issue one more time over here towards the B bomb site, but a smoke holds them off at the last second. Doesn't stop them from taking damage, and they're going to go through the smoke regardless. They push in, they completely miss Stanislaw by Blue Tarp, though. Thankfully, he's only able to get 1 kill. The damage is done, as now Ye leaps into the fray as well and picks up a quad kill to end the half.
Very nicely done by Ye in that position. Stanislaw getting in a really, really tough situation, but still managing to go for one in that defense scenario. So very nice of him. And then the drop in from Ye comes down low, picks up 1, picks up 2, 3rd and 4th as well, just locks it down completely. For a nice first half for complexity. If they get the pistol now, it's going to be hard to see opposition getting any more than maybe 6 or 7 rounds in total.
Yeah, and overall, just a completely dominant half, what we were seeing, especially on some of the gun rounds. Eco rounds, unfortunately, for Envy, we just weren't seeing anything getting going there at all. Complexity had numerous anti-eco rounds where they just had all 5 players alive, no problems at all. And even gun rounds, they had like 3-4 rounds straight where they had 5 players alive at the end of gun rounds. So they were just running them over, unfortunately, on a lot of the very crucial rounds, and they didn't leave Envy a lot of opportunities to get back into the game because of that. And they got those opportunities. That's the worst part. Envy was finding great chances to get back in the game. They were winning quite a few rounds. Unfortunately, they were just never able to fully capitalize on it and chain those rounds together over like 3-4 round streaks that would have made this half a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, exactly. We only had 1 round where they actually had the chance of forcing the economy of the other side into an eco, and they lost that 1 round. And that's what it also comes down to in these best of ones. You can take it down to 1 or 2 key rounds during the entire game. That 1 buy round where both teams were down at like almost $0, both of them, that's one of the rounds that really like matters in the shape of the momentum and the economical situation throughout one half. They lost that, and they also lost out in this first half 10-5. Speaks its own clear language. And now Nifty with the kit smoke. Rest of the team only with armor. Cutler trying to take the duel. Will face that one and grab a 1-for-1. Nicely done by him, but now map control over to the terrace.
We've got the rest of compLexity moving quickly to take that B control too. Nifty's actually not really playing on the site, trying to play from the inside of Tree Room, but he will dip in for a dirty headshot against Def, stealing his life force away before he can use it on the B-bomb site here. Smokes will try to cover off his solo hold, but he still manages to pick up another headshot here, this time against Ye, now bringing the compLexity numbers down to just 2. It is in the post plant on the B site, granted, but on a pistol round, this is going to be a little bit harder than normal to hold off. Android
playing close to the smoke, looking to gain an early advantage before they push in. Sees that one position on Nifty, goes for the second one, but now it's all on Stanislaw. 1v3, he's behind them. Can't really pick up that one, and now it's almost impossible.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're going to jump on the defuse at this point, and it doesn't get a kid. He's got 2 kills, but unfortunately, won't be able to move up quickly enough to stop the defuse, and with that, Envy will still find the round at the end of the day, starting them off well in the second half with a chance to get back into this quickly at a potential 9-10 scoreline if they run this all the way.
And that's one of the things we were talking about, like individual players stepping up and changing around. Those 2 kills coming in from Nifty are absolutely crucial to how this round actually plays out, and they can retake this 4v2 due to those 2 frags that he technically wasn't supposed to get. And that's what they need. That's the way that, like, that's the win condition for Envy. That is for their players like Nifty to step up and deliver those kind of performances. If they can do that, they have a big chance. If they don't, well, something like this is going to happen. The hero AK, Stanislaw is going to find the easy first pick in middle. Now he can rotate around, clear every single angle, and maybe with a good timing push onto the B bomb side with no utility after the smokes go out, there's a chance that they could take this round, even though it's just 4 deagles and an AK.
We'll see. Certainly a surprise to throw off Envy at the minimum and give them this 5v4 advantage to play off of. Now also has the adverse effect of kind of opening up mid for them a little bit here too, or at the very minimum drawing more players away from the other site, as now there's only a 1-man defense set up on A. It's aggressive with Cutler right by the door, but they've also had to move the other player towards mid to hold it off there, which is going to leave the A site vulnerable.
Also just 1 smoke left. There's a minute left and there's only 1 smoke on drone for the entire map. Then 2 flashes, yes, those can be used. But it's just a big problem because they're just going to all run in. They know the economy of compLexity now that they've seen the hero AK. It's going to be very hard for them to stop this rush when it comes.
They've got to be really hyperactive on all sides at this point, basically. Now they're down to 4, and Pollo's like lost another 1v1 there as well, bringing him down to about 50 HP. However, Stanislaw a little bit greedy here, moving out. He's found that kill against Pollo, but are they expecting the vent rotate? That's the question. Even so, though, it'll only find them 1 kill at maximum. We've got the main hit coming out through A main itself, which has worked nearly flawlessly. They think they lose Stan in the process there, back down towards mid, but that was to be expected. Besides that, the actual A hit itself goes off without a hitch, and now puts them into a 4v2 post plant against only 2 players still standing from Envy.
It's going to be very hard for Drone and Nifty to do. They do have the kit, though, and a smoke, so it's definitely possible, but yeah, they're not going to go for it. I'm going to say these weapons bring them into the next round. Ye is on the hunt, though. Maybe here's a footstep or 2 in the vent. Just going to call that to his teammates. Going to save the FAMAS, and maybe the rest of the teammates can go on the hunt to clear out these weapons. Ye, he's going to find it. It's going to get shut down here by drone. So now the nose position. The question is, are they going to commit more? Definitely not the AK.
I was going to say 2 of them are on borrowed guns, so in theory they could go for it, but it's looking like it's not worth the risk at this point. The economical gain is more worth than the deficit they would provide their opponents here, so they're going to choose to stick with those rifles and just save the money in the long term.
Nicely done by compLexity, entering back after losing the pistol with the hero AK setup at 4 deagles. Full utility sets on the T side. The same cannot be said on the CT side, missing Molotovs. Only 1 kit, 2 players with no smokes. This is not a good buy for Envious. Nifty and the boys will have to grab double frags when the eventual push comes, or else they're going to be screwed.
And we'll see compLexity take a much slower note to things once again this time. Even holding the bomb back outside of Garage. Just trying to watch for aggressive pushes through the B halls inside of Sunroom. In addition to similar things towards A main, which actually we're going to see them try to get aggressive this time inside of A main specifically. You can see JDM just trying to go over the pre-fire on the forward box. Don't see that connecting, and obviously he's a little bit late to the party to hit. Look at Shazam sitting back on the inside of the steps that lead up into A main here. But again, no connection. Shazam still choosing to challenge it, though. There's confidence, to be sure, that's showing up here across the board for the compLexity roster. But how much of it is actually working for them is the question. And at least in that battle, works out all right. They don't clear out A main, but they do some good damage forcing Nifty back. And Shazam doesn't take a whole lot in exchange, so he's still relatively healthy to continue fighting.
And right here, flash over white box. And now control slowly but surely being taken. Setting up for that B split. And already with the farmhouse moving into position. Smokes are being dropped as well. The question is, these CT players, how they're going to go for the retake? Are they going to go straight for the duels or wait for the rotations? Because we have that one off angle on Stanislaw on the completely other end of the map. They're going to push in straight. Stanislaw finds JDM. Let's see this T side. Can they win the duels on the side? They will, and there's nothing to be said for Envy. It's going to be a 4v1. Make that a 4v0 as compLexity gets round number 12 on the board.
Really got to highlight how clean the trades were for compLexity in that set. You were seeing how like danger close a lot of those fights were, which means for Envy, that's a lot of opportunities opened up for you to get multi-frags. You'd easily get 2, 3 players. They're all standing directly next to each other. Yep. Besides that, communication, end-door, just line of sights for compLexity was entirely on point. As the second one of their own guys went down, the opponent who found that kill was dead within 2 seconds maximum in that round. Really good stuff with compLexity to keep their numbers strong and to keep their force just too much to take down on the B-bomb site.
Also nice confidence coming out of compLexity, saying that, okay, yes, we're going to hit this B-bomb side, but we know that 4 players will be enough to take it. Doesn't matter what kind of buy you have, so we're going to leave Stanislaw on the off angle, on the lurk angle, to kind of take those duels when they rotate in for the retake. And he's just grabbing frags on off angles, free frags basically, and just saying, okay, you're not going to be allowed to make this retake happen. And then when they, as you said, trade so well coming into the side, like, it's just a closed book. There's no way that Envy can get into that round and get anything done. And now they're on a full eco. compLexity about to be on 13 rounds. It's looking grim for Envy.
Unfortunately, it seems like they've lost a lot of their capability, a lot of that close fragging power that we were seeing in the earlier rounds of the first half. So far, and granted, we are still early days in the second half, but so far we haven't really seen that show up on this CT side, and it really started to dive away quite a bit towards the end of their T side too. So I don't think this is just a symptom of an early start. As we can see, the big surprise comes out from the inside of the A bomb site there, trying to throw off compLexity. Unfortunately, besides I think 1 or 2 kills, it does not do much, and we see compLexity just pick up another easy anti-eco.
Yes, I think it's a good idea, basically, what they're doing there. Nice little smile by EA. Like, if you're in a full eco scenario, maybe buy 1 flashbang, and when you hear a footstep, just flash over and see if you can find maybe 1 or 2 kills. If you can find 2 kills on a full eco, deny 2 sets of utility and 2 AKs, that's fine. In that scenario, they don't get it. They only get the 1 kill, so it's unfortunate. This matchup has been unfortunate so far for Envy. We talked about that double up potential. Now it's back on. Nifty and JDM, both with ops now, and that has to be the saving grace for them. These 2 players have to step up now and grab this game and bring it back.
This is like the 4th or 5th round in this match where JDM has been destroyed in the beginning of the round by Nate, by the way, so he's got to be frustrated by that. And here comes the quick execute to follow it up once again for compLexity too. They're just falling into the rhythm at this point. There's no reason not to since it keeps working. They quickly move in and take site control. They, of course, haven't dealt with Nifty, but they realized he was there, kept him under containment, made sure he wasn't going to be a major threat to them, and now they've got the bomb down in addition to all of this. So they put it down to a 5v3. This is looking strong to just be another easy walkthrough round, really, for compLexity. And Envy are, for the most part, bowing down to it. They've fallen back, tried to save, and even that's not going well. Polyo's been knocked out on his way back from Tree Room. The last 2 are now trying to hold inside of the CT spawn.
They can commit one more player to this. I feel like they're probably going to go and get Def into this situation, and now the rest of them should save, just to make sure that you keep growing that economy, even though you have a couple of players to take it. Actually, they're going for it. This is interesting. So it's a bit of a gamble. They feel like there's so much in the lead that they can actually do this. If he gets the frag, it's going to be worth it, but no. JDM will hit a couple of shots and finish down as well. So very nicely done by JDM, getting 4 frags, making sure that he's bringing that up into the next round. But the economy is still pretty good on compLexity.
Yeah, they can easily afford to eat through this. Problems are really going to start to surface if they lose this upcoming round, or we see a similar situation happen again in this round. If we do end up with another save, you can bet that more than likely compLexity are probably not going to be too interested in chasing those players down, as this rebuy is going to be pretty brutal for them. But as long as they actually keep their current position strong and win out the rest of these rounds, they're still in perfectly fine shape.
Yeah. This round is also a good example of how like a good T-side default into a B execute looks. So basically, we saw them go out in their default, take their usual positions, and then after 30 seconds, gearing up that B execute after taking mid control. And then when the execute happens, there's nothing that Envy can do. They're completely being smoked off, mollied off, flashed off from every single angle. And that was what we didn't see from Envy on their T-side. Every single time they had an execute, it was like 1 smoke, 1 molly, 1 flashbang. On the compLexity side of things, it's like 3 different smokes dropping at the same time with the flashbangs, Molotovs forcing you out of directions or out of positions. And that's how an execute is supposed to look. So that's the kind of difference between these 2 teams at this point, especially on the T side. And that's one of the reasons why compLexity are so good on the cash T side. Stanislaw taking a bit too much damage there on the Molotov to begin with. But do remember, this is the force buy from Team Envy. This is them basically buying down to $0 and saying, you're probably going to get 15 if you win this, and then you're going to win the game, but we want to take a stand right now. We don't want to play for OT. We want to play for that 16, 14, 10 rounds in a row.
That's probably a large part of the reason why compLexity committed so much to the last round, too, to try and hunt that down, is if they're good at following the economical situation that Envy was dealing with, they probably knew that they more than likely would have had trouble rebuying a lot of the guns that they were trying to save right there. So they just had it in their best interest to try and take those down as much as possible. Because they could easily afford, of course, to go for the rebuys. We've now seen they're back into it with 4 AKs and an op and full utility on pretty much every single player here. Slow start once again for them, so it's still part of the course here for compLexity at the beginning of this run. Just playing a default spread out among the back lot of their side of the map here. And just trying to see if Envy want to try anything aggressive, which for the most part is not happening. There's a little bit of poking coming out at the edge of the B halls there on the B site, which we may see come to a boil in a second here for Envy. But other than that, they're remaining pretty passive.
Nifty wants to play broken hand. Gonna use that to count out the Molotov. Boost into vent probably. Def, is he going to be caught off guard? He has the mid control for now. Looks like it's going to end up in an A execute, but compL already so far into A halls. Surely going to find the first one. No, missed the timing. And that's his window gone. Def is finding his way all the way up from short, though, and that's the opening. No one's covering short. It's going to be Def just going into the bomb side and taking it almost for free. 3v2. Nifty on low HP, going to eat a nade. Another great example of the utility usage on that compLexity side, doing so much damage with those grenades and Molotovs throughout this entire game.
Bomb, of course, just barely going down. compLexity certainly stretching the timer out a little bit, but still managed to get it onto the ground at the end of the day. And it's down to just Drone now, of course, to clutch this out 1v3. The angle he's moving in from actually not being watched at the moment, so he does have a free path back in, but that's going to change with the molly being tossed and will very quickly go down, putting compLexity up on a map point now.
I really like the way that they did that play. So basically, they're gearing up in their default setup, gearing up for that A execute, but in this situation, Def is saying, okay, I got complete short control. Let me just seek, try and see if I can find any kills, and then we could do the execute after that. So that basically allows them for him to go and grab 2 kills, and then the execute comes on the back of that. So it's absolutely like a guaranteed round, a guaranteed bomb plan at least, a guaranteed post plan situation. And that's so nice if you have a player who can open up and you can wait, you have enough time so the rest of the team can wait with the execute, and you can just have him go in and see what kind of advantage you can find. Very nicely done by compLexity. Even though, yes, they're getting close to the timer, but when you have Def with such a big advantage, I say go for it.
And that pause is going to be running out here in just a second for Envy. Try to use what they can. Only started using the pauses in the round before, of course, for those of you on the broadcast who might have ended up missing that. So definitely bringing in their pauses maybe a little bit too late to the party here. At the same time, maybe they had ideas up until this point and were trying to execute upon them, but from the way some of those T-sided rounds were really falling apart towards the end of the half, I don't think that was necessarily the case. Maybe just not trying to go for pauses on the T side and wanting to save them for the CT side. Now they've seen the situation they put themselves into, but unfortunately, I think it's just too little too late.
Once again, utility damage. Nifty's down to 11 HP, and no damage has been done to the T side whatsoever. And it's something that we see a lot of the best teams in the world do, like utility damage early on in the round. Astralis is a great example of it, especially on Inferno. Almost every single round they'll get like 50 to 100 utility damage just before the round has even started.
It's just really frustrating for Envy to deal with, right? Yeah. Especially for JDM, who's been the victim of it more times than not. So he just knows he can't do anything because it's like, guys, I can't get out there. They just keep destroying me with nades at the beginning of the round. And there's not really little you can do to respond to that if you're playing in the same position and it keeps happening to you every single time.
Nice A-Rap coming up. Execute on its way in. JDM will have to step up. One player, that's compL, taking the first one, and now JDM being taken out.
So compLexity holding strong, bringing it down to only 2 players remaining on Envy, although they are holding on. Drone finding the most recent trade to bring compLexity's numbers down to 3, but the plat is now in. And unfortunately for Envy, really the only thing they have to work with on this retake is going to be a singular smoke, now only a singular player to go on top of that. It's down to Drone in a 1v3, try and hold off the line and keep Envy competitive in this tournament. Otherwise, they've got an early seat opened up for them in the lower bracket. It's going to be compLexity that'll move forward, and that will indeed be the case as Shazam shuts down the final kill, giving the first map of the tournament over to compLexity.
Very nicely done by the Cole guys, especially Stanislav. Of course, in-game leading, having a lot of the pressure on the team and basically planning out what's the game here, what are we going to do, but also sitting high up on the scoreboard, getting all those frags. A really nice frag and in-game lead is something that we're going to see role-wise come into great stride in the coming years. And now the guys here from compLexity, they're just looking very, very good. Winning that opening game with relative ease, really have control over the whole game. Like, what can I say? They're looking great going into this tournament.
Yeah, really solid start to them, both on CT and T side. Utility specifically, as we mentioned many times during the cast, was really on point, just constantly stopping Envy from doing anything aggressive in the early round. And overall, just doing a fantastic job of stopping Envy's plans across the board, getting in their way with that utility, constantly getting reads onto their executes and being in the appropriate places to stop that. There was just absolutely no shutting down complexity in most situations. There was a little bit of light that we were seeing from Envy towards the beginning of the match, but that fell off far too quickly, and we didn't see that carry over into the second half at all, besides the pistol win.
We do have the Analyst ready to break it down, so we're going to throw it over to Trace and the guys to see what they thought of the game.
Thanks, gentlemen. That's right. First map done and dusted, might even say. And, well, of course, if you're talking about dust, I'd have to say welcome back to the Analyst Desk, where in which I'm your host, Trace Saranthus. We do have Bach. We do have Dust Moret. Guys, what we don't have is an Envy in the building right now. A rough start here for them at the DreamHack Open in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the way we expected. I mean, early on, they fought pretty hard. They actually had a lead there at the beginning, 3-2. But from that point forward, they were only able to fit in a couple of rounds here and there, towards like the last, I don't know, 10 rounds of the half, basically. They were on an island as well, so never really built the economy. Every now and then you would see Drone pop off, get some entries on B, and Envy would follow it up and get in something. But the big problem for Envy was, A, JDM had no impact with the AWP in that first half, and B, man for man, complexity outfired every single player on Envy. There was really no one who had a big performance for that team. Complexity really just rolled over them. Stanislaw was huge. Ye had a bunch of multi-frags sprayed out. He was certainly very happy about it. And, yeah, I mean, it was a dominant performance from the Complexity guys, as we kind of expected.
Yeah, I mean, Nifty, Drone, and Cutler had some impact in some rounds, but for the most part, it's quiet.
Well, I'm going to have to ask you guys to be quiet for just a second, because we do have a little bit of a treat here, and it's Shazam. Mr. Shazib, how's it going over there, bud? Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's going pretty good.
Yeah, so right away, I mean, let's talk a little about what preparation you could have possibly had against an Envy coming into at least Atlanta.
We really didn't do any preparation outside of predicting what the map was going to be. Kind of focusing on our game. Honestly, we just feel like if we played pretty standard, we could outskill them and not make mistakes. In the first few gun rounds, made a few sloppy mistakes. That's why it was close. It should have been more of a wipe, but still overall satisfied.
Yeah, so I have a question here for you, Shazam. I think it's kind of an obvious one, how well the major went for you, but how things directly afterwards have been a little bit harder to come by. I think you guys did pretty decent at Summit. I will say that it was a little bit of a pickup, but I know that some of the online leagues have been a struggle. Obviously, Starlighter was a struggle as well. What do you think has changed between the major and those events to where things haven't gone as well for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been a little disappointing following the major with all these tournaments. I think it's contributed to a lot of factors. Everyone's kind of adjusting to the lifestyle of constantly traveling from tournament to tournament. It's pretty new for a lot of these guys to be on the road so much and get limited practice. And also just I feel like we kind of had a little bit of a down period kind of soon after the major, and we're handling it pretty well. And I think that this tournament's the start of our rise.
Yeah, so just a follow-up question to that is I noticed on this cash game and kind of even at Summit that you kind of switched some positions up on your T side. Seems like Death's back to an old role in the squeaky door position. Was this a conscious decision to get him back to an older spot because of individual performance, or was there another reason why you changed up some of your roles on the T side of this map?
I mean, we've just been analyzing how our games have been going, and we've been making small changes in terms of roles and such, and trying to make things the best that people can perform at the best in their position. So those small adjustments will hopefully show here.
Now, you guys said that you didn't do too much preparation in regards to Envy. Obviously, you've probably prepared for other teams, but what was your biggest concern coming into this match against Envy?
We just have the tendency to play down to a team's level sometimes when we think a team is lesser skilled than us, which results in sloppy play and resulting in upsets. So I was just hoping we wouldn't start cold and we'd play some checkmate CS, and I'm happy we did.
Well, checkmate indeed. Congratulations on your opening victory, and well, you're just making it a little bit easier for yourself, Shaz. Anything you want to say?
Just thank you to everyone watching in the arena and at home.
Yes, to the millions in attendance. Thank you, Shaz. We'll be catching up with you later, I'm sure. Guys, let's get some closing thoughts here, and before we do that, I think it's only appropriate that I tell you that if you missed this matchup, if you missed this map in particular here between Complexity and Envy, then you should probably grab the Strafe Esports app. In fact, over to strafe.com, and you can find out all the dirty little details of this beautiful app. There you can find it in the Google Play Store, or the Apple iOS Store, the App Store. I'm not sure what Apple calls it. I have an Apple phone, but...
App Store is good.
Yeah, App Store is pretty much all-encompassing. Either way, guys, closing thoughts on this matchup before we move on to the next.
I mean, I think you really hit it. I think that JDM is the biggest concern for this team, for Envy moving forward. If they want to pick up another victory anywhere in this tournament, it's going to have to be JDM stepping up a lot more than he did here. But at the same point in time, he is sort of a sleeping giant. Like, I feel like he can potentially pop off and have that sort of X factor play style for the team.
I think for me, it's just as I continue to watch Envy, I continue just to be weirded out seeing Nifty play a solo side with a rifle on the edge of the map and not be either in-game leading or be opping. I still do feel like there's like some real role conflict issues this team's going to have to figure out going forward.
Well, the only conflicts we're going to have are those of Ghost and Vitality. We're finally going to get to see the Frenchmen doing what they can do here on LAN, and I think I see a happy guy walking right by right now. And with that, of course, we're going to a break. When we come back, we've got the opening match for Group B. So don't go anywhere, because DreamHack Open Atlanta continues.